Gold has roughly doubled in the last 2 years. Not a prediction, a fact. Ask a financial journalist why, and you get 4 answers. Central banks are buying, dollar is weakening, tariff wars, inflation. All of them true, none of them the real answer. The real answer is older, much older. And understanding it doesn't just explain the last 2 years, it explains why gold has never, in 5,000 years, been permanently replaced by anything. Start with a scene, not a trading floor, a wedding. Somewhere in India right now, and statistically almost certainly, given 10 million Indian weddings happen every year, a priest is holding a gold necklace over a sacred fire, chanting. Family is still, nobody moves until the ritual is done. The gold is in fact being worshipped, not admired, not appraised, worshipped. Before it can touch skin, it must be blessed. 10 million weddings a year, 300 to 400 tons of gold consumed at those weddings. Total global gold production is roughly 3,600 tons a year. So Indian weddings alone consume 10% of everything the world mines. So when India's wedding season opens in November, when the astrologers declare the dates auspicious, gold prices move. But here's the part most people don't know. It doesn't happen by magic. There's an entire chain. The jewelry shop owner places a restocking order with a local bullion dealer. The bullion dealer places an order with a larger importer. The importer goes to the wholesale market. And the wholesale market for physical gold, the real thing, the bars, the good delivery standard, the benchmark that every other gold price on earth references, is in London. The London Bullion Market Association, the LBMA, sets the gold spot price twice a day at 10:30 a.m. and 3 p.m. London time. 15 major banks and dealers submit buy and sell orders electronically. The price clears when supply meets demand. That price becomes the global benchmark, the number every gold transaction on earth references. Meanwhile, in New York, on the COMEX exchange, the futures market is running simultaneously. Traders aren't buying physical gold, they're buying contracts, agreements to buy or sell gold at a specific price on a specific future date. Less than 1% of those contracts ever result in actual delivery. But COMEX is where information moves fastest. A trader in a glass tower in Manhattan sees the seasonal demand spike coming from the east. Physical premiums in India rising, the price Indian importers pay over the London spot is widening, a measurable signal that demand is outpacing supply. So the trader buys futures contracts, managing risk, taking a position, anticipating the move. That's the chain. A priest blesses a necklace in India, a shop in India restocks, a bullion dealer places an order, London sets the benchmark, New York prices the expectation, the trader adjusts the position. All of it connected, all of it live, all of it running right now. Now, that's not a metaphor for globalization. That's a textbook example of how physical reality in one corner of the world becomes a number on a screen 10,000 kilometers away. A 5,000-year-old ritual, a live commodity price, the same thing. What's driving the gold price right now, the doubling, the records, the central banks buying faster than any time in recent memory, is not new. Same story, same reason playing out again. To understand why, start with the first thing gold ever was. Not money, not jewelry. Gold was permanent. The great thing about gold is that it doesn't decay. That sounds simple. In 3000 BCE, it was everything. Iron could rust, wood could rot, food could decay, cloth fell apart. Gold did none of that. Bury it for 3,000 years, dig it up, looks the same as the day it was made. To people living in a world where death and decay were the dominant facts of daily life, that wasn't chemistry. That was proof of something beyond human. Egyptian theology held that the gods had golden skin and silver bones. The sun god Ra crossed the sky every day without change, without degradation, and Ra was associated with gold. Because gold reflected sunlight, and gold never aged. So the Egyptians decided gold wasn't just valuable, gold was divine. Tutankhamun is buried wearing an 18-kilogram gold mask. Not a display of wealth, maybe, but a statement about eternity. The gold wasn't to make him rich in the afterlife. or maybe it was, but gold was to make him immortal. And here's where gold and power meet for the first time. Pharaohs who controlled gold didn't just seem powerful, they seemed permanent. Egypt, and you can guess, and you can see this from the way Egypt spent 2000 years sending armies into Nubia, not to mint coins, to maintain a theological argument that gold was the physical proof that the pharaoh's authority was not merely political, it was cosmic. Gold stores legitimacy, not just value, legitimacy. And that's just the first feature. 3000 years after the pharaohs, the world's most powerful governments still use gold to signal permanence. Mechanism can be different, but the instinct is identical. And next we come to why gold is portable wealth that no institution can take away from you. Nobody understood better than India. Indian households hold about 25,000 tons of gold by estimates, more than the official reserves of US, Germany, Italy, France, and Russia combined. Western analysts call this culture, tradition, sentiment. Well, all of it is true, but also incomplete. India's gold system is perhaps one of the most sophisticated financial adaptations ever built. And it was built in response to a very specific problem. For most of Indian history, no reliable banks existed. Property rights were uncertain, and especially for women. Currencies came and went, empires rose and collapsed. But one asset survived all of it. It held purchasing power. It could be worn on the body during displacement. It could be pawned in an emergency. It could be secretly passed between generations during political violence. It was recognized by everyone as valuable everywhere. Gold jewelry in India wasn't just luxury, it was banking, it was private, portable, ungovernable. The gold given to a daughter at a marriage was, underneath the ritual, a direct transfer of capital to a woman. In a society where women couldn't legally own land or property, the jewelry was hers. Not the family's, not her husband's, hers. And nothing proves why that system existed more clearly than what happened 100 kilometers east of Bengaluru, starting in 1880. Beneath the dry red earth of Kolar sat one of the richest gold deposits ever found in Asia, the Kolar Gold Fields. A British firm, John Taylor and Sons, began extracting it in 1880. The mines went deeper than almost anywhere on earth. 1400 kilometers of tunnels, 51 million tons of rock processed, 800 tons of gold extracted. Almost all of it during the colonial era went to London. India was sitting on 800 tons of gold. British companies extracted it, British banks processed it, the bullion stabilized the pound and funded the empire. India kept the holes in the ground. The mines closed in 2001, ore was depleted, gold price had fallen, thousands of workers lost their livelihoods overnight. The town that was built entirely around the mines with schools, hospitals, cricket grounds became a slow-motion ghost. And you may know this place from the films. The KGF movies got the scale right. But the real story is sharper than the cinematic version. KGF isn't just a mine. KGF is proof of why Indian families built a private gold system that no colonial government could reach. The state extracted the gold from the ground, so the Indian women wore the gold on their bodies. One system serving empire, one serving survival. That memory doesn't just disappear in one generation of fintech. In 2024, India's central bank bought 100 tons of gold from London. The household instinct and the sovereign instinct is the same. Don't leave gold where someone else can control it. Now we come to the third feature. Gold cannot be faked. And Rome found this out the hard way. In 64 CE, Emperor Nero makes a small decision. Reduce the silver content of the main Roman coin, the denarius, by 10%. Just 10%. The empire was expensive, military campaigns, bureaucratic salaries, grain subsidies, spending more than it collected. Cutting spending or raising taxes were both politically dangerous, so the coins got lighter. Same face on them, same declared value, less metal inside. Merchants noticed. Not immediately, gradually. Started pricing goods higher, trusting the coins less, trading across distance less. Over 2 centuries, the silver fell from 100% to under 5%. By 268 CE, a Roman coin was a bronze disc with a silver wash. People could detect the fraud But for 200 years, emperors kept doing it anyway. By the time merchants realized the lie was systematic, that every coin was debased, the damage was done. Trade networks that once connected Britain to Mesopotamia fragmented. Local barter re-emerged. This wasn't about silver quality, it was about the trust breaking entirely. Once people stop believing in the currency, you don't just switch metals. You stop using currency altogether. Entire regions stopped trusting currency across distance. The empire didn't collapse because of the invasion, it hollowed out from the inside because the money stopped being honest. Gold's property throughout all of this was simple. It couldn't be faked. No decree could create more of it, no emperor could dilute it. Gold's scarcity wasn't a promise, it was a physical fact. But silver is also physical. Rome didn't solve this by switching to gold. Once people stopped believing in the system, no metal mattered anymore. That distinction, physical fact versus political promise, is the central tension every monetary system from Rome until right now. Rome debased its coins to cover debts it couldn't otherwise pay. 2000 years later, central banks are buying gold at the fastest pace possible in decades. Not because gold is pure, because they're asking the Rome question. When trust breaks, what survives outside the system? Something physical, something that doesn't require anyone's promise. Looking at sovereign debt levels, drawing the same conclusion. Feature number 4 is that gold exists outside every system. No government issues it, no central bank controls it. No country can print more of it. That feature became the most important thing in the world on one specific night, August 15th, 1971. Nixon ended a promise. The promise was, you show up at the US government with $35 and you walk away with 1 ounce of gold. That promise had been the foundation of Bretton Woods, the monetary architecture 44 nations built in 1944. Dollar as world reserve currency, dollar anchored to gold at $35 an ounce. Everything else pegged to the dollar. Now, before that night, every dollar was a claim on a physical object. After that night, a dollar was claim on confidence. On the belief that the United States government would stay functional, that its debts would be honored, that the system would hold, money became officially a social contract. The market understood immediately what the policy world was slow to admit. Gold went from $35 to $800 in 9 years. Before 1971, what backs the dollar had a concrete answer. After 1971, the answer was the United States government. For most people in most of history, a much less reassuring answer. Now, what happened next? What happened next was that dollar falls 10%. Worst year in 4 decades. Gold rises 55% the same year. And that feature hasn't changed. Gold is free, not from money, but free from systems, governments, promises, and printers. And that freedom is exactly what the world is paying for right now. Gold held inside your own borders cannot be taken from you. February 2022, Western governments freeze $300 billion of Russia's foreign currency reserves overnight. But Russia's gold sitting in Russian vaults was untouched. No electronic ledger to block, no correspondent bank to cut off, no SWIFT system to disable. You cannot sanction a metal you can't reach. Every central bank on earth watched that happen, and then they started buying. 3 years, over 1,000 tons each year, more than double the previous decade's pace. No portfolio rebalancing, just a structural shift. In 2024, central bank gold reserves exceeded their holdings of US Treasury bonds, first time since 1996. For nearly 30 years, central banks held more US government debt than gold. That relationship has reversed. Russia and China are obvious names, but look at the full list. Poland, India, Turkey, Hungary, Singapore, Czech Republic. And Poland is a NATO member on the border of Ukraine, and it added over 300 tons in 5 years, targeting gold at 30% of total reserves. India brought 100 tons home from the Bank of England in 2024. These are not rogue states, these are cautious institutions, making a long-term bet that the current monetary order won't last forever. Not betting on collapse, they're just insuring against it. A NATO ally and an emerging democracy making the same bet as Russia and China. That's not geopolitics, that's a signal. Look at the chart. Every spike is a moment when trust in the system cracked somewhere. Not inflation, not interest rates, distrust. Now, gold is permanent, gold is a bank, gold is honest, gold is free, gold is a weapon. 5 different features, 5 different civilizations, 5 different centuries, all pointing at the same thing. When the trust in banks hold, people keep deposits. When trust in governments hold, people hold bonds. When trust in the future holds, people invest. When all the 3 weaken at once, money moves toward the one asset that requires no institutional trust at all. Egypt reached for gold because gold outlasted every institution they ever built. India reached for gold because the colonial state extracted the country's wealth and individual families needed something that the state couldn't touch. Rome's citizens moved to barter when the coin stopped being honest. Nixon's America watched gold quintuple the moment the dollar's physical anchor was cut. And Russia and China accumulated gold because they'd seen what happens when reserves sit inside someone else's system. Same answer, 5 different centuries, 5 different continents, and 5 different crises. This chart is not a commodity price chart. It's a chart of every moment in the last 50 years when institutional trust cracked. And here's the detail that proves it. Every normal commodity follows the same rule. Price rises, demand falls. Petrol gets expensive, people drive less. Wheat gets expensive, bakers use less wheat. Gold breaks that rule. In the first quarter of 2026, as gold crossed record highs, bar and coin demand surged 42% year on year. Chinese retail demand hit a record 207 tons in a single quarter. In South Korea, investors queued outside bullion dealers as local supply ran short. In Australia, the queues formed in January as prices peaked over $5,400. The World Gold Council described it directly, investor FOMO, as the price continued to climb. The higher gold went, the more people wanted it. At the same time, jewelry demand fell 23%. So ordinary buyers, the ones purchasing gold for weddings and gifts, pulled back because it was too expensive. 2 completely opposite responses to the same rising price. Jewelry buyers behave like normal consumers. Prices go up, they buy less. Investment buyers behave like distrust buyers. Price goes up, they read it as a signal and they buy more. That split tells you everything about what gold actually is. One type of gold buyer is purchasing a material, the other is purchasing a verdict. A verdict that the system is becoming less trustworthy. The higher that verdict is priced, the more convinced the next buyer becomes that it's correct. That's not commodity behavior. That's a reinforcing trust collapse made physical. So why has gold doubled? Not central banks, not tariffs, not the dollar. Trust in the current order is being questioned by governments, by institutions, by the most sophisticated financial actors in the world. Gold is what they reach for when that questioning starts. Always has been. Every generation thinks it's finally escaped this. The internet would make gold obsolete, Bitcoin would replace it, quantitative easing proved fiat could handle anything. But gold was never competing with technology. Gold was competing with one question and one question only. What do you hold when the system itself stops being trustworthy? 5,000 years of human civilization and we don't have a better answer yet. A priest in India blesses a necklace over a fire. A central banker in Warsaw adds another 100 tons to the reserves. A trader in London watches the chart and adjusts. 3 rituals, 3 continents and 3 different centuries of origin, but one feature. Gold doesn't need you to trust anything else. And that is why it has doubled. That is why it is always going to. If you got here, thank you. Gold sits at the intersection of religion, colonial history, psychology, and geopolitics simultaneously. And it's hard to compress. Hope that the length felt earned. Please like, share, and subscribe, and that's how more of this gets made. Thank you for watching.